Welcome back. I haven't done a panic index in a while, right? I think it was before the season started the last time I did one. So, what I've done, I've got all 32 teams here. It's not in a specific order, I've kind of randomized them a bit. But yeah, so, and by a bit, I mean there is some alphabetization to the way that it's done, but who's first and who's last is a little mixed up. So you have the happy quadrant here, the panic quadrant here, the we're not sure what's happening quadrant here, which is usually pretty empty, and then the we don't really care, we're just waiting for the draft side here, where we've got the dude, because the dude abides. If you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, oh wait, go watch it. Or you can just pause the video and then come back after, because The Big Lebowski is a fantastic movie. All right, and I know there's people who may disagree with me with that. That's okay. Opinions can be wrong. So yeah, the happiness, the it's just weird. We're not sure what's going on. You have the panic side of things, and the everything's fine. Doesn't matter that we're losing. So we'll start off with Anaheim because that's the one that ends up on top here. For Anaheim, honestly, right now, and I mean, you've got the GM just got told. It sounds like he was told to resign, right? I'm gonna put Anaheim on the friendlier side of this. Not completely in the happy area because I think 7-4-3. It's a good record, good winning streak they've got going, but there are teams that I think would have happier fan bases slash media and all that wonderful stuff right now. So for Anaheim, I have them on the happy side of the board. Next up is Colorado. Colorado's a tough call. I'm going to put them on a little bit here on the panic side. They're below 500. They've had a tough schedule though, so they're not. They haven't really lost a bunch of games to like bottom feeders. It's not like they've gone out. They've lost to Arizona, and then dropped one against Montreal, and then gone out and dropped one as well against whatever bottom feeder you want to put in place here, whether it's Ottawa, whoever, right? So for Colorado, their losses have mostly come against really good teams. So it's not quite in this range yet, but it's not on the happy side either because they're below 500. Chicago Blackhawks, I'm going to go ahead and say right next to it. So not quite 100% panic, and here's why. Jeremy Colleton has been let go. I think getting rid of Jeremy Colleton, I think the fact that investigation is now finished, I think it takes some of the panic out of that for fans, probably for media as well. And now it's about both rehabilitating the team's image off the ice, as well as trying to get the team on the ice to be better. And so that's where things get tricky for Chicago, is trying to make sure that the team gets better. Carolina. Is there anything to really say about this other than Carolina right now? Their fans should be exorbitantly happy. This is a team that's 10-1, and they look really, really good. There really isn't a team right now that's threatening to down them on any level. Florida beat them, yeah, but then Florida loses a couple in a row. I think Carolina's in really good shape to end up likely finishing first in the Metro, and then who knows, right? Maybe Stanley Cup aspirations. Calgary. Calgary for me, yeah, I'll put them on the same level as Anaheim. There are some concerns. There should be some concerns. So Markstrom's been great. Things have been going pretty well for Calgary. There have been some struggles at home to win games at home, and those important, especially divisional or conference games, right? So yeah, I mean Calgary has a really good record. They're still top row on that board there, but there might be some cracks showing here and there, so we'll see. But for Calgary, I have them on the positive side. Not in the jubilant category, but, yeah, they're still there. Buffalo. Now, remember, Buffalo doesn't have any pressure this year. None. So to me, I'm going to put them right on the line. So they've done well enough that I think for some fans it's still going to feel kind of weird that they're relevant. They're in the hunt for a playoff spot, but they're also far enough away that you can start seeing this. Well, this year it doesn't really matter so much, and it's all about getting that top draft pick this year and trying to rebuild this thing and rebuild it correctly this time. So I think fans in Buffalo are generally pretty happy with things right now. I think the Eichel trade, did they get back enough? Well, we'll see. We'll see whether they got back enough or not. But it's done. It's finally done. Boston. Boston, to me, this is pretty easy. I'm going to put them a little bit on the positive side here. Their record has been okay, but again, much like Colorado, they've had some pretty tough competition. And so Boston, I think they're still on the positive side. I also think that the expectation in Boston is playoffs, and then they want to see a Stanley Cup champion out of that. So if they have a mediocre regular season, by their own standings, but they end up getting that playoff spot, and then they end up going somewhere in the playoffs, I think fans will be quite happy with that, rather than a team that tuckers themselves out during the regular season and doesn't have anything left for the postseason. Arizona, right down next to the dude here, couldn't be more chill. The only thing missing is they don't skate around with white Russians. The Arizona Coyotes, they work hard. In most instances, last night's game against Minnesota was tough. But Arizona, I don't think there's any expectation on them. This is a team that has Eriksson, Beagle, and Roussel all playing out there. They take up a lot of cap space. All of them expire at the end of this season, every last one of them. And Gostisbehere, really good numbers for Gostisbehere so far early. They might be able to turn him into another asset at the deadline. They're not done selling off players just yet. So Arizona, I have down there with the dude. Montreal, okay. Montreal is definitely at panic. This is a team that, coming off a Stanley Cup final run, and now they don't look like the team that went to the Stanley Cup final, because they're not the team that went to the Stanley Cup final. No Carey Price, no Shea Weber, no Phil Deneau. There's a lot of core pieces there that are not here. And so, Kotkaniemi's out. They bring Hoffman in. Edmondson's been out. There's a lot of issues with Montreal. And this was a team that, even healthy and even with all those players, didn't quite win 50% of their games last year in the North Division. So, Montreal, I think there's a decent amount of panic. If this was the 80s, there would have been 3 or 4 trades made already. But because of the salary cap and things being as they are, we have not seen that as of yet. Minnesota. Well, Minnesota's got to be happy, right? I'm not going to put them as Carolina happy, but they have to be pretty happy with this start. This has been a fantastic run for them, and I don't know how far it goes. I don't know how many games they win, but yeah, they look really good so far. And so if you're a Minnesota Wild fan, this might be the most excited you've been in quite a while. Speaking of which, LA King fans, likely pretty happy too. They've won 6 in a row. So for the Kings, this is a team that now looks like maybe the playoffs are in the offing this season, which is weird because no Doughty, no Byfield, no Walker, no problem. They've won a bunch of games. So for the Kings, things are going pretty well. Once Drew Doughty gets back, who knows? Maybe they're a legit Stanley Cup playoff contender. Florida. I'm still going to put Florida up here. I know there's some concern that with Joel Quenneville stepping down and that job going off to his replacement, that there's fears a replacement may not be good enough. I think Burnett will be fine. But I also don't think that the last 2 losses necessarily take the shine off the start of this season. It's been a fantastic start for Florida. And we'll see how they bounce back from the back-to-back losses, right? Do they start to doubt themselves? Do they tumble, or do they right the ship immediately and keep cruising? I think they're going to keep cruising, personally. Oilers. So we're moving on to Edmonton here. Edmonton, I'm going to put them right up there with Carolina and with Florida. I honestly think that the excitement in Edmonton's real. I think the excitement from McDavid is notable. The excitement from Draisaitl from that team in general is notable. And so I think the Oilers belong up there at that top spot. Detroit. I'm going to put Detroit with the Wild and with the Flames. I think the Red Wings, yes, there's some excitement. Yes, this team looks like they're ready to potentially challenge for a playoff spot, but I think there's still that reality of they're probably going to end up falling short. So for Detroit, things look good. We'll see how far they can go. The likelihood is that they fall back at some point, which is not an insult to the team at all. You've got a lot of young guys here, a lot of pieces that may end up being more attractive to Steve Yzerman to move at the deadline rather than to keep, and we'll see how it all works out for them. Dallas. Well, for Dallas, I'm going to put them right down here on the panic side. Rope Hintz finally gets his first goal, but it's still 1 goal for him. Ben's not scoring. Sagan's not scoring. Radulov's not scoring. Robertson, it doesn't look like Robertson from last year, and I know there's been an injury problem there too. Uh, Bishop is still out. Holtby's been good. Hudobin's been okay. They need more. Dallas just needs more. They're starting to already look like a team that probably misses the playoffs this year. Columbus. Columbus has got to be in this region happy, don't they? Right there with Minnesota and the Kings. Again, I don't know how far this can go, but for as long as this will go, I think fans are going to be quite excited to cheer for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And we'll see what it does for their attendance. At times, Columbus's attendance can be underwhelming. So we'll see what this does for their attendance, whether or not that comes up. But again, attendance right now, I haven't done a video strictly on it because there's a lot of factors that are leading to lower attendance at NHL games. And I think people try to oversimplify the matter, but it is complicated. There are a lot of reasons. And I've come up with 5 different reasons why I believe that the attendance is down overall. But we'll see what it does in Columbus with a team that's not only competitive, but looks pretty darn good. They absolutely look like a team that could be scary to play against because there isn't any one player to take down. Jets. Jets I'm going to put in the same area here as Boston. I apologize, some of these magnets are different size. It's fine. The Jets, it's a 6-3-3 record for them. It's been a good start. Again, I have them over this line, so I don't have them as any kind of panic. But are they a contender is the question. And if not, what needs to be fixed and when does it need to be fixed? So, yeah, for the Jets, I have them on the positive side. We'll see where they end up at the end of the year, how things go. Can Hellebuck keep it going? That kind of stuff. Capitals. Capitals I'll put right... No, I'll put them right here because they've only lost 2 in regulation. It hasn't been a fantastic start to the season overall, but Ovechkin's great. And the numbers overall for the Caps would tell you they should make the playoffs, and then it's all about what you do in the playoffs. So I don't see that there's any reason for any kind of panic right now in Washington if you're a Caps fan. We'll see how long that stays the case. Vegas. Vegas I'm going to put down with Dallas. And I'd put them lower if they were healthy. If we had Pacioretty, if we had Stone, if they were in the lineup, if Karlsson wasn't injured, then there'd be a lot more reason to panic if you're a Vegas fan. So as it stands, I don't see any reason to be concerned, about Vegas yet. And yet, you can't have them above the line either because their record hasn't been fantastic. And this is not a Vegas-like start to the season. This is their 5th year. I can't think of a year they've ever started off with a record it's okay. It's 7-6. But you can see they're really missing something in their lineup with 3 main players out. And most teams, if they were missing 3 main star players, especially all being forwards, I think would have a hard time. Vancouver. Vancouver, I'm going to put it down here, and here's why. Vancouver in the offseason went out, and they added Garland. They added Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and the plan was playoffs. At least playoffs. They do not look like they're going to make the playoffs at this point. They don't look like a team that's going to go on a winning streak. And they could. That core is still there. I still like the players in that core. But they're not producing the way you want them to, whether it's Besser, whether it's Horvat, whether it's Pettersson. The expectations were a little bit higher entering this season. Quinn Hughes is the one who's getting the kind of offense he was supposed to, but then there's the defensive deficiencies that are in there too. Of course, Hamonic was late coming back and playing for them, and it just feels like there's a lot of this lineup that's in a state of flux, and we'll see how long that's the case. Toronto. Well, what day is it? With Toronto, generally, what day is it? And I say this honestly, and I'm not going to put them higher than Boston or Winnipeg. The thing with Toronto is the fans are always one loss away from a complete meltdown and a panic. And let's fire the coach. And so while they've won 6, I think it's 6 out of 7 now, there's still that impending doom feeling that lingers over this franchise that one loss will cause people to go, knew it. Nope, they're done. They're just not good enough. That's it. We got to trade one of the big 4. We got to make a move here. Something's got to change. This team isn't good enough. And it can get exhausting. It can, because again, I think they're good. I think that they showed against Boston they could be quite good. I think they showed against Philadelphia they could be quite good. The game in between, but they beat Vegas. Like, there's a lot of reasons to look at this team right now and say, they look good. It doesn't. There's no harm in that in the regular season, but until they win in the postseason, there's always going to be that. Well, that's it. We're done. Kind of look at things. Tampa's a tough one. So I don't know how much Tampa fans are in any kind of panic right now. I don't think they are. I also don't think it's weird that the team's record is a little less stellar than we might have expected. So, and again, there's no reason to panic. So I'll put them on the line here with Boston, Winnipeg, and Toronto. I don't see any reason to find any sort of panic with Tampa. Could they have a better record? Sure. But almost every team in the league could have a better record. I recognize Carolina and Edmonton would have a hard time having a better record, same as Florida. But yeah, every team could be undefeated. Sure, Arizona could be undefeated. Not likely, but you know. So for me with Tampa, I think there's a wait and see. One thing I didn't put on the board was just the, well, we don't really care part of it. The it's getting weird part is more of, well, I mean, it's the Mr. Meeseeks magnet. Plus, it's more of a, our team's doing well, we don't know how to feel about this kind of thing. And Tampa's not in that range. So I just didn't have another axis to use on the board in order to put them up there as we're just waiting for the playoffs. San Jose. Sharks fans, I think, are highly satisfied right now. I don't know that I'd put them in the same realm as Minnesota, LA, and Columbus ahead of them, but I'll put them in the same row as Anaheim, Calgary, Detroit, and Washington. I think it's been remarkable how well they've played while so many players are out. They have had so many players out of the lineup, and yet somehow San Jose is still winning games. So kudos to them for being able to do it. We'll see how long it goes on. Seattle. Seattle's kind of tricky because how do you panic when you're this young as a team? I'm going to put them with Vegas. I've seen it. I've seen fans already. We should have won that game. Why didn't we win that game? Why aren't we winning? It's a first-year team, but I think there's definitely some panic in amongst fan base, or the fan base, as well as maybe some in the media as well. They've underperformed, comparatively speaking, with expectations going into the season. The advanced stats crowd was very impressed with the pickups made by Ron Francis in the expansion draft, and now they're not playing very well. They don't quite have the finish you want, and they're not getting the saves when they're needed either. So for Seattle, oddly enough, I have them down here rather than, over here just chilling out waiting for the draft pick. Eventually, I think Seattle ends up here. But for right now, I'll put them on the panic side because we're still early in the season. St. Louis. St. Louis fans have to be overjoyed right now with how well this team has played. Considering all the setbacks they've had off the ice and with who's in the lineup and all that. Yeah, St. Louis absolutely, I think, belongs at the top of this. They have an excellent record. They won a game in Winnipeg the other night that maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have, but they won it. And so for St. Louis, things are going pretty well, and I'm impressed with how well they've run things. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a tough one. I'll put them down here with Colorado on the downside, but only just barely. The record's not fantastic at 4-3-4. However, they've done most of this without Crosby, no Malkin. They've been without Letang. They were without Carter for a while. They've done it without a lot of players. So for Pittsburgh, it's really been a matter of, okay, so we're patching together a lineup tonight, throw it on the ice and see what happens. They're starting to get healthy again now. And so we will see with Pittsburgh whether or not they're able to get back above that line. Because they've only lost 3 in regulation, I don't feel like they should be lower than this, but I'll have them below the line. Philadelphia. Things are going pretty well in Philadelphia. I'll put them on the same line as Boston, Winnipeg, Toronto, Tampa. Going well, definitely above any kind of panic line. More towards the happiness. But there are some worrying signs in the losses. As to whether or not they're going to have the scoring when they need it, when the games get really tough, right? It seems like when the games get really tough, the scoring kind of dries up. So we'll see. Once Kevin Hayes gets back, that storyline may change as well. So I don't want to overreact. There's no point in overreacting. Now, Ottawa. Ottawa I'm going to put down with Chicago and the Vancouver Canucks. I think more was expected of them this year. They were expected to be more competitive than they've been. Yes, they're dealing with a lot of guys in protocols. But even before that, their record wasn't great. And they were trending in the wrong direction. So all the guys in protocol, it definitely just seemed to make that situation worse. And so for Ottawa, a year that was looked upon as a promising one where they might get back into contention, now there's some doubt, and there's still some contracts up at the end of this year. It'll be interesting to see what they do. The New York Rangers. I think Ranger fans are relatively happy, so I'll have them in the same line here as Boston, Winnipeg, Toronto, Tampa, and Florida. Because early in the season, you're going to have a lot of teams that are pretty happy about things, and a lot of teams that envision themselves as playoff teams. This is where it gets interesting, because you only have 16 playoff teams, and I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 right here. 2 of those teams guaranteed to miss the playoffs. That's how competitive the league is, and that's how many teams there are that, yeah, their fans can expect playoffs, and if they don't get them, they may not be happy. Now, Anaheim, LA, Detroit, it is likely they end up out, but still, right now, there's some good vibes there, and for the New York Rangers, there's definitely those as well. And there's some concern about some of the guys' production dropping off, Zibanejad, Panarin. It's not that unusual for the Rangers to get off to a slow start, so I'm not concerned at all. And we'll see when they pick it up what ends up happening. New York Islanders, guess what? They're going in that one too. I think the happiness in New York for the Islanders should be huge because they've done it all on the road. They're 5-3-2, all of them road games. That road trip now with 3 games left, I don't even know if it matters. I think if they lose the next 3 and they go to 5-6-2 or 5-5-3, I think they're happy with that. I think they take it. Any more wins on this road trip, and I think the Islanders will be jubilant with how the thing went altogether because, yeah, it would be understandable if with a road trip that long, they started to have a hard time and they fell off and they're just not showing any signs of doing it. So, yeah, the Islanders I have in that row. New Jersey. New Jersey's a tough one. I think I'm going to have to move this line right here because I don't think it works with where it is. I think that there's too many teams that are in this category, and there'll be people who argue I have too many teams in that category. The thing is, it's not that important how many teams are in each category, especially early in the season, and it shows just how competitive things are and how expectations have raised. So for New Jersey, I'll put them in the same line here as San Jose, Washington, Detroit, Calgary, and Anaheim. New Jersey has had a very promising start. Of course, Mackenzie Blackwood and injury setbacks and all that wonderful stuff have been a problem. However, now that he's healthy, things look good right now if you're New Jersey. And, yeah, we'll see how long they can stay in that hunt in the Metro, which is one of the toughest divisions in the league. Many will argue it's the toughest. I'll leave that for an argument for another day. And last but not least, Nashville. Nashville's kind of a tough call, too. I don't think there's any panic with Nashville. I don't think there's any concern. But I'm going to put Nashville right there, a little bit on the line. So I don't have any teams that feel that things are getting weird. I've got Buffalo the closest you get to that. Arizona's the one team that's already chill with the fact that they're not in the playoffs. They're going to end up with a number 1 playoff spot. And then on the panic side, I've got Montreal, Chicago, Vancouver, and Ottawa as the ones that are, I think, most likely to be panicked about things again. Chicago, expected to be a lot better. All kinds of controversy on and off the ice. Vancouver, expected to be better. Spent to the cap, and it's another setback year so far. Ottawa, expected to be in contention. Pierre Dorian saying they were done with the rebuild. The record would say they're not. And, of course, Montreal, who, based on the fact that there is a very large population of both media and fans for the Montreal Canadiens, and the tradition of excellence the team has, anytime that they get off to a really rough start like this, it's going to make news. So there you go. Your panic index for November 11th of 2021. I'm wearing, of course, the Edmonton Oilers Hockey Fights Cancer jersey. I have roughly a third of the league in these jerseys. That's it. I don't need others. I just wanted ones to wear for reviews, previews during the month of November, and I wanted to make sure I had enough that I'd be able to wear one for at least one video per day, and this is that video for today. So if you look in the description below this video, there is the charity that I support at this time of year. The money goes to a good cause. It's all on the website. It's all completely transparent, and none of that goes to me, which is good. That's excellent. That's how charity's supposed to work. Money's not supposed to go to the person who's talking about it. So, all right, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding this chart, which is never meant to be taken seriously, and I've said that about the power rankings, comparatively speaking, with this for years. This is much more casual. The power rankings I take a lot of time and thought with. This one I just casually throw them up on the board. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe. I will talk to you again soon.